Guten Morgen. Hello, everyone. And today at Leaders Try Podcast, we have a guest from across the world. It's a country that I really love, that I've been to a couple of times, and I have a lot of friends from. And that's why I'm very excited about this conversation. I can just say namaste, and now you already know about the countries. I have a guest from the beautiful, sunny, amazing, wonderful, magical India, Bharat, how people also call it there. And this person is not just a regular person, but it's an actor and a high performance coach, Aditi. And I'm very excited to have you because high performance is really a topic in our society that has many faces, and some people feel very pressured by performance, and some are like, yeah, performance, let's go. And I feel like this topic in general has so many facets that it's important to take it apart once and then put it back together so that everyone understands what high performance actually is, and how I believe you're teaching people on how to be high performing without this like stressful pressure and burning out and so on and so on. It doesn't have to be like that, right? So yeah, I'm super excited to have you talk about high performance, one of the most exciting topics you can find out there. Yeah, welcome.
Hi,
Happy to have
Vika.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I still remember when we first connected, you spoke to me in Hindi, which is Indian language. And I was so impressed. I'm like, oh my God, that's nice. And then I made my attempt by Google translating some German words. I remember that.
Yeah, I love Indian language. I've learned Hindi a little bit when I went there first time because I wanted to
Very
talk to
nice.
people and was like saying "Aap kaise ho," and like "Mera naam Mika hai," all those important phrases.
So
Uh,
this is where we begin, like the high performance attitude, where you kind of challenge yourself to learn things that are foreign to you, that are new to you, and you constantly build environment in which you do that. That's my simplest idea of being a person with a high performance mindset.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. But the best I've learned was "मैं भारत में प्यार करता हूँ." That
Bharat
was
se pyar karta. Of course, I love India. I think many Indians don't say that, but I'm very happy that you do.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, especially about acting? I'm very
Oh,
interested about that part, but like in general, what are you doing? What's
yes,
currently
yes.
happening in your life? Yeah.
So my father was an art director. So I grew up in a family where films were discussed over dinner table. So I remember studying characters and seeing the continuity of the shot and whether the screenplay matched or not. So it was like everyday conversation for us. And as a child, I acted in some short films. It was only obvious for me to get fascinated by the world of filmmaking, which by itself, like when you're on a set, it is fascinating to see all the lights and people moving. It's like, it's like a mission happening in like few hours.
Mhm.
So I then dreamt of being a director, and my father very smartly said, of course, if you want to become a director and an actor, then you got to study people, you got to observe them closely so that you can find the nuances which most people miss. And this is where my journey started of being an observer and student of human psychology and behavior. Little that I knew that after 18 years, I would become a behavioral analyst, eventually a coach, with a hidden dream of acting. So I kept going back to it because I feel as a communicator, as a storyteller, you got to have acting skills. You got to have like, those moments of capturing the emotions and the
Mm.
storyline in a way that people can engage. So
Yeah.
I kept using my acting abilities, if I may say, all along and making things more interesting. But being a content creator gave the final push that was needed. And in the last few years, I have went back to it and now professionally decided to go back to acting as my second profession at 39 this year. So I'm super excited. I have already shot with a festival film, which is a short film. I have started performing on open stages, like theater performances. So yes, I think I'm gonna
Um,
pick it up. So that is a place where I think I get to implement more tools as a high performance coach that I teach my clients and
mhm.
my participants in my own life as a performer. So it's gonna be like very interesting.
Nice. So you're going for Bollywood, Hollywood, Mollywood. What's like the?
As of now, Bollywood and OTT, we have a lot of production happening. India is a film lover country, so
Yeah.
we produce a lot of films, like minimum 800 to 1,000 every year, mainstream in all languages. So it's a lot of work that happens. However, we are lot more people. So it's a very competitive kind of a space, but
Yeah,
it's fun.
wow. If you need any European looking actors, just call me
Of
up. I'll
course,
fly
of
right in.
course. Somebody who can say, I love Bharat. I get it.
I'll have a role where I just say one thing and it will be like, I love Bharat.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's your audition point. Right there.
nice. And you've mentioned the tools, high performance tools that you're using for your acting that you're teaching to your clients. What are these tools that, well, like let's say three most usually tools by yourself that you use for your own high performance?
So I feel one thing that I commonly find in high performers is their ability to continuously challenge the comfort zone. I think all of us, most of the time, people who I work with, CXOs, they are very good with what they do. I don't have to tell them the skill set. They're already amazing with it. And all of us are in some or the other manner, right? Like we all have one or two things that we are naturally good at.
Yeah.
Now we get comfortable with it. And our ability to walk into the discomfort, in the area of comfort, I feel is one of the most commonly found traits in high performers in my research. I have a podcast. I have two podcasts, but one of them is called Absolutely Right, WRIT, and I interviewed 350 CXOs and high performers and athletes on that. And besides doing the work that I do, and it's a live coaching session, so a little bit of interview, but then we walk into coaching, and it's where the real questions are answered and asked. And I'm curious about this. This is my personal research topic, that what makes some people so fascinating, and they spend little time and then they achieve really high degree of skill set in their given area. And I feel the skill set of learning and mastering something is the key. Now you can challenge yourself on physical level, emotional level, whatever you choose, but the ability to do that is the key. The very moment you stop that, I feel this is where people fall into anxiety, depression, because now they don't have something to fight with, and the mind is such a space that it keeps itself engaged with things that it wants to, play with. And when you
Yeah.
provide bigger challenges, it creates challenges, and this is where
It
most
eats you
people
from
fall.
inside, right? Yeah.
Yes,
I know
yes.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So that's the most important thing. So I always ask people to create the learning game. So you may apply that to anything, but you might be doing your dishes and there could be a learning game there. You might be, and most people do that. I'm forgetting the name of this artist who makes Milan Fashion Week outfits. He makes IKEA designs. He's like an artist who is working on 7 different projects at a time. And while all of this is happening, he spends time with himself. Every week he challenges himself on different projects. So one week he would click only doors, and then he reviews what was it on the first day and what was it on the 7th day. Did I improve there? And then next week he would only pick up faces of people. So that is where you build your internal games, and even people are watching or not watching, whether they are giving you exact rewards or not, one must do that. The second tool, which I feel is really important, is journaling, because it builds self awareness. You know whether you went wrong. You can do it physically, you can do it mentally. But I'm trained in this executive coaching program with Marshall Goldsmith, and he calls it "What got you here won't get you there." Right. And in that book and in that program specifically, he spoke about 7 questions that you can ask yourself for quick review at the end of the day. I love it. So that self journaling and knowing where am I standing, was it good, did I actually get triggered, what was the point, all of that you can actually ask yourself every day. So that's the second thing, self regulation or self awareness, I would say. And the third tool is mind mapping. Most people don't have clarity about where they want to go, how they want to go about it. But if you have a method to look at an overview and see what you want to do and bring in that clarity before you move forward, it becomes way more interesting.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I use all of them, especially I love the first one, the challenges part. I even had like a project where I was bringing people out to the street and then challenging them to do some social things that were like super uncomfortable for them, like asking strangers for help or for money, or asking for free food and this type of things. And people were like really getting out and out of their let's say, stuck mindset or fixed mindset. And after that, sometimes they were crying in the process, but then it was like revealing for them. They were like, wow, it's so
Able.
profound. You know, when they have this bigger challenge, then I have something to work towards and not like being stuck in my own excuses and so on. So yeah, totally. And journaling, mind mapping, even combination, right? Like mind mapping while journaling really makes a change. Yeah, makes a difference. How would you define high performance as a high performance coach? What is it for you?
I feel the simplest way of defining it is going or getting into a state of flow on a cue, not when it happens. If it happens, if it is tentative, if it is accidental, you might be a born genius, but if your genius abilities are not available when you need them, then
Mm,
it is not something that you can count on. So there's a difference between an amateur and a professional, right? A professional would show up and in a way figure a way how to get to that performance every time on a cue.
mm-hmm,
I think a leader must do that. Yes, exactly. So for me, if something you think you have built a skill for someone, for some area, then you got to have it on a cue. I'm dyslexic, by the way. So for me, the basic skill of writing or talking or building something is not easy, and thereby I became a high performance coach because I needed aids and I needed methods and tools and recipes behind these behaviors. And in that process, I realize it becomes easier for me to count on these abilities, which most
mm.
people can't because they might be gifted, they might be natural, but they can't count on it because they don't know the recipe behind it. So
Uh,
my actual limitation became the lens through which I kept looking at things, and it was really helpful.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I can relate to that because I sometimes I feel like hyperactive. So I'm, forgetting things and jumping from one to another one. Like I don't think I have ADHD, but
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like, oh, this thing, this and this thing. And then when, especially in leadership positions, that you need to not just lead yourself. And when when your own life is chaotic, it's like it's your thing. But as soon as you have to lead other people, like hundreds of other people, you need to get your heads
absolutely.
together, and then you come up with strategies to like figure out how can I organize myself first to help others organize. And especially if you face like personal, let's say, challenges, or these things that are not normal for most people, then you really have to find these special tools, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, very
I
very cool.
agree completely. And I think leadership as a process helps all of us. Like to become after becoming a leader, you must have realized, or anybody for that matter, any leader knows this, that it allows you to grow further. And something that you could do, in a hidden way, now you can't because you're more exposed and people are looking at you and they're waiting for you to have clarity. So now you can't have an option of having clarity or not. So in a way, it's like
Yes.
playing an international sport. Everybody's looking at you for every mistake and every glorious positive action that you take. So being a high performer on a cue becomes even more inevitable, according to me. And that's the game. That's the fun part of it and the challenging part of it.
Yeah, no, it's a great comparison to sports teams, right? Because like people are looking at you and you're under pressure somehow. So
Yes.
as soon as you decide to do something bigger than yourself, you're on the court and everyone's looking at you, like social media, or just like
Yes. Everybody.
acting. Yeah.
Yeah, and any action that you take, people who are like physically around you now, thanks to work from home situations, so you can switch off the camera. But on a normal day, like people are looking at you, your choices, which are not planned and not manipulated, not maneuvered, but natural choices are more available as you go up the ladder, and thereby having the mindset that allows you to genuinely, honestly, authentically have those choices would allow you to behave comfortably in front of anybody. But if you're constantly pretending to be something else that you're not because you read it in a book or heard it on a podcast,
Mm,
then you won't be able to have it in a way. And you will always have the imposter syndrome. What if they catch me? What if they catch me? Because you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have a mindset built fully.
yeah, totally. And you're speaking out of my heart. Like I remember sometimes when it was exactly like that. If you're
Yeah.
especially new in a leadership position or in any position, I think most people would feel imposter syndrome. Like, am I right for this position? Right.
And I want to add to this. I was interviewed by LinkedIn, and we did a video for LinkedIn India, and which was about imposter syndrome. And one of the
Mm.
things that I said there is imposter syndrome is telling you the truth. And people only compare it with self-doubt. They say, oh, I have the skill, but I doubt myself. No, no, no. Your imposter syndrome is looking at that one area where you don't have skills. So as a leader, if you know everything about marketing and sales and all of that, but if you don't understand finance, your imposter syndrome is taking your attention. But what if they ask you about finance? What if they ask you about numbers? What if they ask you about, and
Mm.
that is where you think it is doubt. It's not, it's the skill gap. The day you say, okay, I don't understand it, first you can acknowledge it and then learn something about it, or acknowledge it and say, I don't know it, other people will do it, and I'm going to keep a tab on it. You will not have the self-doubt. So it's not only self-doubt and something that you can dismiss, is rather the truth that is hidden, and your mind is bringing your attention to it. Work on this, otherwise people will catch you. Work on this, otherwise people will catch you. That is a gap. So
Mm. That's a very cool point. And something that I wanted to ask, because sometimes I have two perspectives on that. First question is, so as of myself, or what I've heard also from some coaches, even if they're really, really good, like I have a coachee who is a animator, so he does game development and like animation. He worked on huge projects, like everyone knows this movies that he was animating.
right.
And he, even like after more than 20 years of professional development, he told me like, hey, I still feel I didn't, so I learned it by myself. I didn't go to like an art school or this, you know, special place where they teach me, where I get a degree that I'm a professional in that, as some people do who go into this area. So even after those tremendous projects, when he told me, I was like, wow, it's an honor for me to know this person or
Oh,
like to coach this
nice.
person.
Yeah.
But he still had this doubts about his qualities as a designer, because he just didn't get this paper, the degree, right,
No,
from
that's
the
not
university.
true. So people who are naturally talented in and being a behavioral analyst, I have studied, natural bonds, and people who have studied and built the skill set, people who got trained, and there is a difference. For example, a dentist who is trained in a dentistry school for 4 years receives a process: step one, step two, step three, step four. For root canal, you would do this. For extraction, you
Mm-hmm.
would do that. So somebody has created a recipe
Mm-hmm.
for guaranteed success. Yeah, probable guaranteed success. But for a creative person or leadership, which is such a situational thing, there is no recipe. And people do not sit down and ask themselves, what are the steps that I take when I perform at a higher level? They don't. So, for example, this animator, if you can walk him through 3 or 4 occasions where he performed really well and ask him, so what did you do? What were the steps that you take? And if he actually writes them as a recipe, okay, what were the ingredients? And I like the recipe analogy. I have made
Mm-hmm.
many of my clients do this. So I said, okay, so what was the proportion of it? Like how much time did you spend? So, you just like make it like a recipe as if you're baking a cake.
Mm-hmm.
But when you build it step by step, they have recipe, they have a process. Like you and I, when we do coaching sessions, we have a very non-verbal, non-defined process, but there is a process, right? If somebody can build that and understand what happens for a natural talented artist, he would know that I can count on these first 3 steps and then know my genius gets activated. Every athlete does that. You might have read about Roger Federer's
Mm-hmm.
routine that he follows before his bigger matches.
Tell
And
me.
they do that because they put themselves into the mindset of playing under pressure at that level. But that is something that, athletes know, dentists know, people know, like, that is built. For creatives, most of the time, and being an actor, I can tell you, many actors are so anxious before the performance because they don't know what's going to happen. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have a recipe of what activates your character, what activates the leader in you, intangible so, but a coach can help you do that. But once you have that, then you become more and more comfortable. So I always feel anxiety is about accidental success or accidental failure. So if
Mm.
you remove the accidental part of it by creating some method in the madness, then you will not be as anxious.
Mm. So you already mentioned this mindset, right? For someone to not think. I mean, there are things, mindsets are things that we think and that we don't think, right? That are
Mhm.
almost equally important, what we don't think about ourselves or about something. And you said that if you think that your success is accidental, then like you will feel anxious about it, right? Like you will feel like I cannot replicate it. But if you feel like, okay, there are these steps through which I can create this high performance on a queue, right? As you framed it. If I will know that whenever I go as a Roger Federer on a court, I do 1, 2, 3, and then my high performance is activated, and then I start the game, right? It's like
And it is still uncertain because, until you don't crack the code, it is uncertain, but it is not 100% uncertain. 80% is covered and 20% is uncertain. And that's the
Pareto's law.
fun part of it. So, like you're not 100% anxious, because I think when you challenge yourself, always when you walk into newer territories, it would happen. You would walk into things that you don't know, and that's the fun element of it. But if you feel 100% thrown off the cliff without any parachute, you would die with fear. But if you know you have the parachute, you have the skill of opening it whenever you think you're ready.
Yeah.
You have an instructor speaking to you in your ears, and now you're thrown off the cliff, then still it is uncertain because you are obviously jumping off the cliff.
Yeah.
You have the tools or systems that are available for you to count on. And that is a part of building a high performance mindset.
What are other parts of, or like what are other good mindsets in positive sense that high performance people adopt? Like one that you've
They take action. The second thing which I love is done is better than perfect. Okay,
totally.
I think it's really, really important. And I'm not talking about somebody who doesn't have skill set. And for them, you better don't do it if you don't have the skills.
Like doctors. Right?
No.
Oh, done better than perfect. Like, oh.
Oops. I thought Aditi said done is better than perfect. No, not like that.
I've heard this podcast and they told me that. Yeah.
But I'd rather talk about this from a space of like a leader, from a situation, or building the skill set for something like challenging yourself. Done is better than perfect. Most people overthink because thanks to social media, thanks to all the material, thanks to all the podcasts that you and I host, thanks to all of this, we know high performers, and we know these amazing people who suddenly do like 200%, not 200 times of what you can do. And you're like, oh my God, that is what I want to get to. No, you don't have to. You think about what is the next step that you want to achieve, what is 20%, 30% better than where you're at. And then take action towards it. When you get there, you are a little bit more comfortable. Then you again ask yourself that question. What can be the next 20% better, next 20% better? Like I have been practicing yoga, as you call it, but yoga for almost 22 years now, because at home we used to do that as kids, and that's how it started. But as a practitioner, I know one thing, that every day, though you know the sequence, you know the same Surya Namaskar or whatever asana that you would be doing, asana for people who call it, but it is the same thing, but you approach it, and depending on your ability today, it will change. So today, if you're feeling more restricted, you said, can I go only 1 inch deeper into this? Can I improve it by 10%? And when you keep asking yourself, the mindset of improving it from wherever you are, little bit more, is done is better than perfect. So you show up, you take the action. Don't only think about perfection, because it's nice on social media, but it's not good for your mind and your mindset.
Totally. And we also feel like on social media, everyone is perfect. So we compare ourselves with this perfect version of others. And we think, okay, if I do this reel now with my current skill, like everyone will laugh about me. But in the end, you don't do this and you never get better, right? That you have to start with where you are right now, and then step by step, in the end, you can, in 1 year, you can delete the old reels. That's what I did. But my first reel was just like, I filmed myself in the park, did the edit and posted it, and I was like, that was an important step for me to get out of this. Like, I'm just overthinking, watching tons of reels to understand how to do it the best. But like, if I wouldn't post that one, now I wouldn't be where I am today. So
but
totally.
that's the point. Like what you just described is a great example. And you take smaller steps and you act, and in the process you learn. You understand, okay, this was not good. We all know this is not good. We all know this is better. But you will not fall into self-critical zone or overthinking if you're busy acting. busy jumping in, busy challenging yourself. It's so
Totally.
beautiful. Once it becomes your lifestyle, it is so much fun that you don't want to go back. And I'm so sorry for this. Apple being connected to everything creates another challenge. Yeah.
Yes. So what's the next mindset that is bringing high performance in?
I say this, and one of the lines that became very famous on social media at some point is, if you avoid the grind, you avoid the growth.
Mm.
Right? This is a point where people believe that I want to take care of myself and I want to make it easy. I want to, I want to only do things that just feel right. All of this is amazing, good. But that is applicable when you're in the ICU, when you're stuck, you're hurt, you're going through trauma, healing, all of that. There are different stages of our growth. People always take one principle and apply it generally. It's not. You are supposed to look at where you're at. If I meet a client who's going through, say, a divorce or something emotionally challenging or professionally damaging that they've gone through, then I always tell them, imagine you're in the ICU of your mind and you can't expect yourself to run immediately. So you just, at this stage, just take smaller step, get up, just be comfortable, do basic things. But once you recover and when you feel now I can walk, then challenge yourself to walk a little bit more. But most people have certain challenges, of course, but they are at a stage as leaders when I meet them, they need to be challenged to become better. And this is where the grind comes into picture. It's uncomfortable, it's risky, scary, and you feel vulnerable to fall in front of other people or fail in front of other people. But that's the beauty of it. If you avoid the grind, you avoid the growth.
So
And
true.
if you remember this, if you keep reminding yourself, and you will find how we all escape the grind. It's very smart people escape it with smarter excuses. They would come up with something so complicated that nobody can argue with you. And we all know, we all have done that. You're like, oh, this I can't do right now. It's not my priority, and all of that we do. But that's because we don't want to be exposed.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader, then it's your fundamental responsibility to design your grind and call out on your own BS, if I may say, because people can't see through you on these things because these are personal choices, but you can, my friend. So I feel going back to journaling is really crucial, because you sit down and ask yourself, am I giving an excuse? And if you catch that, I would, so for me, choosing acting career at 39 is choosing a new grind, because I have been all my life thinking about it. I'm trained into it, but it's competitive, and obviously with a running business that you have at hand, uh, you don't want to risk something that is already working. And coaching takes a lot of time and energy, and thinking, and so does acting. But at one point, I felt I do have my heart inclined there, and it's uncomfortable. And what if I might fail publicly? But so be it.
Well, at least it will be fun, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yesterday, when I was writing a post about it, I said this line, I asked people, has it happened to you that the joy of doing something is so high that the journey becomes more exciting than the destination? And I feel that is your GPS mechanism to know whether you are really aligned with what you want to do or not.
Totally. Did you also pursue career like this acting career now because you got a little bit bored? Like, because I find it, as a person who loves high performance, after some periods of like super high performance where I was forced to do that, I was falling a little bit into like, getting into comfort zone and getting a little bit bored. Did you also feel this a
You,
little
you
bit?
caught me red-handed. I feel it's also like a slightly passive role, right? As a coach, like I work with such amazing people who are doing such amazing things, and they're on the fire line, and I'm like coaching them to be on the fire line even better and better. I think last year, especially during the lockdown, I did a lot of online work, and so I could do more work because the time became like online work. You could take more clients and it's more comfortable, and they just came up with such amazing results. I almost felt envious of them. I'm like, I also want to be on the fire line and feel how it feels. So yes, you got me.
It's the coaching challenge, right? When you're a coach and you're like always supporting the others, or as a
Yeah.
leader, and yourself, you're like sitting there at the sidelines, right? Like as a trainer, like a football trainer who like
Yes,
trains
loves
people
the
but cannot
game,
play
knows
football anymore.
exactly what to do, and still you are like sitting there. And if you've been a player who has then become a coach is a different thing, because you've played your glory.
Yeah.
And yeah, and also I think another reason is when I was performing, I realize I'm good to a point of being a professional. So I do training. I train with professional actors, and some people in the circle and people who saw my work, they're like, "Why are you not professionally acting?" And I didn't have an answer for it, and I'm like, "So be it. I'm gonna jump and figure this out. You know how it should be."
If I don't have an answer, why not? Then I'm just doing that, right?
No, no, not only that, but if I wouldn't have been that, like whatever, if I wouldn't have got such feedback again and again, then probably, and I tested it. So that's again one thing I feel is amazing with high performers that I have seen. And also I work very hard to cultivate them, that in my clients, is experiment.
Mm,
We only focus on vertical learning. I believe a lot on horizontal learning. Go in the area that you have no clue about. Like I remember my first swimming lesson that happened at 26, which is much late compared to all most friends of mine, or most Europeans for that matter. But at 26, I went for the class for the first time. And I was already a coach by then, and I already had like all of my lessons in place. And as I was learning, and my teacher was talking about to float in the water, you have to let go of the control. And when
mm,
he said that, I'm like, oh my God. So it was nothing to do with coaching, but because I'm a coach, I learned so much in the horizontal learning. But that was a physical experience for me. And I would never forget that, because every time I start becoming controlling in my life, or I see somebody who is doing that, I tell them this story, and I say, let go. If you want to float, you have to let go of controlling attitude there in the moment. So the lesson that I would not forget. So when you are building a mindset, challenge yourself, not only that one area of leadership, but other things other than being a leader, like go play a sport, go build a hobby, go do adventure sports, go talk to people, and attend music concerts
mm,
and take a guitar class. Do other things which are not your professional domain, to be able to implement what is happening in your mind, because in that area you'll see exactly what is happening. We can't see in our everyday life. Like as a coach, I can't find my flaws easily, but as an actor, I can, because it's a different field altogether.
mm,
Or as if I try to cook something new, I would see how I don't want to try something new, because I'm stuck with what I already know, and I'm not willing to change what I have
mm,
decided. Now, all of these things will tell you exactly what is happening in your mindset.
mm. True. So like this cross-functional learning where you, instead of just having light on something from one side, you go around and then you see different
Yes.
shades of yourself and discover yourself from other perspectives. Totally. Or like you play football and then you have this idea about your coaching. Yeah. But if
Yeah,
you just
exactly, right?
constantly, yeah, if you just constantly think about your coaching, you're like this horse with in German you call Scheuklappen, like this things here. You just see your coaching thing, but asking someone else, even this is also a thing, a good thing for high performance, to like not get into your ego, like I'm the best. That's the
Yes.
wrong way about it. But be like, hey, I'm high performing. I want to hear others' perspectives because it helps me go forward, right? Like I want others to challenge me. I want others want to work with people who are better than me, so that they show me what I'm not that good at, so that I can become even better, right? So I think,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I will use my chance, as we still have a couple of minutes, to have a high performance coach here to ask
Yes.
something very practical. So
Yes.
for me personally, one thing that I've discovered that is hindering my high performance at times is that during COVID, I developed a strong social media addiction. So it was like it was my coping mechanism. I had like a high stress. I was a CEO of an organization, a lot of pressure, and like social media was just my way to escape the reality somehow. And I still have it. Like it's already 2 or 3 years that the lockdown is gone, but it's still my way to go to like kind of switch off the head. And sometimes it's like a little bit too much, like checking the phone constantly, this
Of
thing.
course.
And I've heard from a lot of people that it's a big challenge, like social media and in general, this compulsive behavior where just like you're working and then you're like, maybe someone wrote me on Instagram, and then you like get stuck for an hour.
I
So,
know.
like, as a high performance coach, what would you suggest if you would coach someone like me, or coach the person with this behavior? How to get this focus back and to get more productive, and like, reduce that, let's say, toxic behavior?
So I can tell you things which are forced. I don't believe in them much, but I know for some stages, as I said, ICU and then normal and then athlete training. So depending on that, you can spot yourself. So I always check how many hours I was on Instagram or social media at the end of the day, because being a content creator, you'll end up justifying why I have to be on social media
Exactly,
when
yeah.
you don't need to, but you just do it because you get stuck into the same thing. But so that is one way. Another thing is you put timers and all of that. All the apps lock and all of it you can use, but I feel they can take you so far because somewhere what you're doing is not as interesting as of now. The challenge is not as um, engaging for you as social media can be. So I would approach this problem from a completely different lens. I always ask people to pick only 3 tasks for an entire month. Okay, 3 tasks that are challenging. So as I mentioned, 20% more difficult than what you can manage at this stage. So if you can comfortably do certain kind of workout, then you say I would do 20% more than that. Or whatever the project, if you think you can manage this in 1 month, then I would push 20% and I would expect myself to do it. Or whatever you think is the next challenging, but but you'd also ask yourself, why do I want to do it? So the technique I use is called 5 why technique. So you sit down with that project idea or that next thing you want to do and ask yourself, why do I want to do it? And you'll come up. Do you want to do it right now?
Yeah, sure. Let's
Right?
go for
Yeah,
it.
okay,
Yeah.
done. So think about if not social media. So stopping social media is asking yourself to cut down on eating pizzas or burgers or your famous sandwiches. But if that you want to do, then you'll have to restrict. And restriction in high performance does not work. Inclination works, inspiration works. And for you to have inspiration on the other side, you have to have a reason behind it. So for us, if you don't want to be on social media, then instead of restricting it, my question would be, then what do you want to do?
Yeah, so here I was also asking myself, should it be professional or can it be also something else, like, a hobby that I would be pursuing?
See, the time that you spend, say 1 hour extra on social media, technically you can spend on anything else. Now that anything else has to be strong enough. If you don't have strong enough why for that other thing, then you won't leave social media.
Okay.
So what is that other thing and why do you want to do it is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah. So first I thought of like, putting it more into work, but I already work a lot. So it would be, just one more hour to work. Let's take another example. So what I'm missing are this like peak happy states. And I usually have them in life when I'm doing something adventurous or like very active. So like sports activities or like, playing games.
Okay, so let's take like a sport activity that you pick up, something that is closer to what you can do.
Yeah.
Why? So what is that?
So I started playing this paddleboard recently, and like I've figured out, for me it's not that exciting to go to the gym because like you just go there and you're there by yourself. But like but team sports really make me happy because I'm extroverted, so I connect with people instead of like just sitting working on business all the day anyways.
Of course,
yeah, so like that's football, volleyball, like I always feel very happy when I'm doing that.
So let's look at it that 1 hour. So I will ask you 5 times, okay? So you said you would like to go and play with a team or any activity that requires physical movement like that, challenge. Why do you want to do it?
Like it makes me feel happy. It develops my skills, my physical abilities. I can connect with people doing that, like build stronger relationships. Yeah, this mainly these things.
All sounds amazing on the paper. The second question is, why do you think being happy with all of these points that you made right now matters to you? Why does it matter to you?
Because this feeling gives me more energy to do other things that I'm doing, like work on my mission, on my business. Because if I'm not doing that, then I'm also having less energy to work on my business. Like in generally, like life happiness level is lower.
Okay. So third question, why does it matter that the other things in life that you do are done with energy into them? Why?
because what I'm doing is my personal ambition and it's important for me. But when I don't have energy, then I feel like I'm betraying myself a little bit through like not doing what I actually love with as much energy as I could be doing, just because I'm only doing that without, doing other things that give me energy from the outside.
Okay. So why does it matter to you that the mission that you have chosen for your life is executed? Why is it so important?
Because like doing that fulfills me, and I believe in this concept of mission, of purpose. If there is something that fulfills me when I'm doing that, when I'm contributing to others, then that sounds like a mission to do, something that I was born for, with all the talents, all the challenges that I went through. So following that makes me contribute positively to lives of other people, and that's what I see the reason of life in.
Okay. Now the fifth why for me is, why does it matter that your life is fulfilled by contributing to other people?
Wow, it got very deep very quickly. Why does it matter? Well, that's how I see the reason of life in general. Contributing positively to other people. I was asking myself a lot this question, like, what's the reason of life? Is it hedonistic, just like, enjoying as much as I can? But I realized that what makes me most fulfilled is improving something around myself and making lives of others better. So it's like the reason of life for me. That's what, if I don't do that, then I really feel unhappy. Then I cannot be happy even doing all the other things, even
So
like
Mika, are
living.
you saying that 1 hour of sports would get you closer to doing exactly what we spoke right now, connecting yourself closer to the ability to connect to other people? Now, if
Yeah,
you every time think about doing that, you won't be wasting your time.
that's very true. Yeah.
And now that we have gone this deep on in this conversation, it's not that every time on social media you remember it, but somehow subconsciously you'll start prioritizing that 1 hour, which would allow you to then take your journey further. That's how I think the 5 I technique is phenomenal. And as our listeners are going through it or viewers are going through it, they can do this. And as I ask those 5 questions, just challenge yourself and sit down, and when you find that first answer to the why, ask the second one and the third one and go till the fifth why, because fourth or fifth why is where the actual crack open happens. And I like that. I feel suddenly then you're like, oh my God, my 1 hour of workout, my 1 hour of spending time with my child is so crucial to me being happy and thereby me performing better. And this is what we do, is what we do to create an environment slowly, steadily. I love this tool, okay? I call this building a home to a habit, which means in my office, I have photos of home office. I have photos of Carl Jung, who I love for behavioral modern analytical psychology. He's called the
Mhm.
father of it. I have Coco Chanel, who was a woman who stood out for her style and her thought. I have Charlie Chaplin while
Mhm.
shooting. So he's in his element, not acting, but shooting as a filmmaker. So
Mhm.
I feel all the aspects of people that you think are high performers in your definition, create a visual representation. It could be your phone screensaver, where you can have these photos or these words or these elements, but subconsciously program yourself to be a high performer.
Mm.
Not an overnight, or as I keep saying, it's not an accidental thing that you happen to be Adele. It doesn't happen like that. You work at it, you kind of build your skill set towards it. But if you don't have the practice every day to connect to your why, connect to your regime, routine, your ability to challenge yourself or to build your grind, then it is not going to happen. You can take it, you can consider this as a guaranteed method. And social media has, or like overall, people only celebrate the success which are anomalies. Most people who fail, people don't talk about them. So we say, oh, look at this person, he tried for this for 1 year and he got that kind of money, and see this person, he bought bitcoins and he became so successful. We only celebrate those accidental cases. So I feel
Mm.
overall the generation that we are brought up in keeps waiting for the miracle to happen.
True.
please don't wait for it. Get up and start working for it. You ask yourself, what did I do? Even if it's a miracle has to happen, what did I do for it? How can I be prepared for it? And how can I build that on a queue is what you should always ask yourself.
Oh, yeah. There is this story about the guy who constantly goes to church and prays for God to win the lottery, and then like he
Oh,
does it every Sunday for years, and then one day the God appears to him and says like, "Can you buy the fucking ticket, man?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have to do something for your success. That's very true. And then, as you said, if the true recipe, like secure recipe, is to do something every day and like show up, implement those routines, this like hooks that positive hooks instead of like social media hooks that are mostly
Yes.
subconsciously hooking, like create positive
3 seconds.
hooks, create like positive hooks. And like that's the recipe for success. Then there is a anti-recipe for success. If you don't do those things, then most probably like the probability is very low that you will succeed, right? Like because
I know, but
right.
I don't talk a lot about what you shouldn't be doing because my meditation teacher, I've been practicing transcendental meditation for many years now, and I did Vipassana, which is 10 days of silence for the first time this year. And something very beautiful. One of my teachers said, your fundamental nature of the mind is to grow. You don't need reminders when you're on that growth path. You don't need reminders. But if you're not on the growth path, is where you will take a lot, it will take a lot to come on the path. But if you're on there, you don't require reminders. So don't waste your energy in breaking bad habits. Neuroplasticity talks about when you forge some new habits, and if your mind starts enjoying it, you will not want to go back. Like, for example, if somebody wants to cut down sugar and if they eat like really boring food, it's horrible. It's a horrible thought to cut down sugar. But what you eat instead is really tasty and is delicious. Then it also, like if something that you enjoy eating, then you would want to go back.
Mm.
So build routines, build regimes that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy them, I can tell you that you won't do them more than 7 times.
Mm.
If you enjoy doing them, you look forward and build games, build little, like, I love having so I have a personal trainer where I work out, and he's my accountability partner. He's a dear friend now, but the fact that he and I share the camaraderie of certain common topics which have nothing to do with workouts, I look forward to meeting him.
Mm.
Right, so my yoga teacher again is like a very intense person, and she's like very committed to correcting this mind, but at the game of she correcting me is so much fun, and I'm very fond of her, so it's fun to, I look forward to going. And if I don't go one day, I miss meeting her and doing. So create environments like that where people, game, routines are so much fun that it is not a compulsion that you look forward to,
Mm.
you have to go through. I think serious high productivity to a point of burnout, I don't agree with it, and I pretty much detest it. The idea where people are performing very high, getting all the amazing results, and the most unhappy people on the planet.
Yeah,
That's
true.
not being productive. You don't want to be productive in one area. You want life to be very exhilarating and be high performers. And I feel that's very important.
I think that's a like great summary of what we've talked about, right? Like high performance doesn't have to be something draining when you like wake up at 5 a.m. and you're like, oh, I hate my life, and then you work
Yeah,
for
no, you
15
better don't do
hours.
it
Yeah,
then.
totally. So what would be your it felt like already a last summary, or what would be like your last message to our listeners today
I
you would
want to
like
I
to.
want to use a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit is an ancient language, Indian language, and there's a word which is on my screensaver of the phone. It's called Prayatna Shaithilya, and it comes from Yoga Sutra chapter 2, 47th shlok, or like a verse of it. If somebody is interested in that, they can look it up. So the word means prayatna means efforts, and shaithilya means numbing the efforts. So it's loosely translated in English as effortless, but it is
Mm.
not. It actually talks about mastering a skill set to a point where it looks effortless, it feels effortless. But it's not effortless because it is easy or it's lazy. It's effortless because you have gone beyond the obvious mastery and you have learned something so good that, I love Federer, and every time he's playing, you don't realize how was he here and now he jumped there, and he's so effortless with it, right? So that is a point of being a master of a skill that nobody can figure out the effort there. You can't figure out the effort more than anyone else. And that I feel is a dream that I carry, that any skill I pick up, I want to have prayatna shaithilya. I want to become a master of that skill set. And I hope and I wish and I pray that for each person I come across, that you fall in love with your life and that activity or that profession so much that not going to work is more painful than going to work. Not being able to play the game of your own routine or workout is more challenging than going there and showing up. And I think it's a matter of perspective shift. So I hope and I wish all of us can build those games and build our lives which are very, very fulfilling and fun.
Thank you so much. That's an awesome summary. So if you want to follow Aditi, then just go to the description below, click the links. I will connect her social media and the podcast and so on. Amazing human being. I got inspired in this 1 hour we talked. And like you just destroyed my social media addiction.
Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg. I took one person away from your social media.
Yeah, Mark is already calling. He's like, Mika, what's happening? No. Why are you 1 hour off Instagram? What's wrong?
Of course. Yeah, but just one small little thing. Please switch off those notifications that keep popping. The research shows that it takes 21 to 27 minutes for you to get back to the activity after you're distracted by a notification. So simple things like that. You just don't let them by all Netflix and social medias of the world, don't give them the space in your mind. It belongs to you and you should have more control than them.
Amen. That's how it is. Aditi, dhanyavad.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. And rarely do I get to speak to a coach who understands the challenges of coaching and has, equal experience of implementing the tools. It was really a good camaraderie kind of a conversation.
Loved it. Thank you so much for coming. So bye everyone, and see you at the next episode.